Welcome to the Nerd Social. I'm Nathan.
I'm John.
And I'm Colin.
So we're going to talk about WandaVision episode 5. What is it called again? Do you guys remember the title? I usually watch these things early in the morning, so the title off the top of my head.
I don't.
It was
remember
like something went on. I don't quite remember off the top of my head. I watched it in early afternoon today.
All right, so it'll be in the description of this video. All right, so as before, we're going to talk about our just general impressions of the episode, and then we are going to delve into the episode, things that we liked about the episode, and after that, talk about theories. Because we're doing a separate Easter egg video, we're not going to go beat by beat in this video. But with that, started off, John, what did you think of this episode?
Oh my goodness, a lot of great moments, and especially the way it ended. My goodness, it was shocking and at the same time satisfying. And again, it started off back with the format of going back to the sitcom style shows, and this time seemed to be, I saw bits of Growing Pains in there, and Family Ties. Family Ties is what I saw in there as well. And then, of course, it quickly, I don't know if derailed is the right word, but it definitely went off into various things and going back and forth with Monica and the sword agents. There was a lot in this, so can't wait to get more into it. And I want more. I can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah, for me, I think that it's definitely plot thickens just like the last one, but then there's also a lot more that's thickening as well. And I agree with you, John, that at the end, very big surprise at the end, and the beats of the 80s sitcom was definitely there. Family Ties was a big theme of the whole introduction this time. But it was not just the sitcom that they were focused on. It was definitely a good mixture of what was happening during present day and the sitcom reality as well. And also Vision's doubt about what's going on. It really intrigues a lot of the viewers and also trying to unravel the mystery of what's happening.
Yeah, so I had mixed feelings about this episode when I watched it the first time because I watched it this morning at 3 a.m. I don't know if I liked it as much as the previous episode, but I did after watching it. I don't know, the fourth time. I did appreciate it. We'll get into, when we get into spoiler section, some of the 80s references, and there'll be even more in the Easter egg video. So I appreciate some of that stuff. I think similar to me not necessarily liking 70s comedy. Maybe this is why I didn't appreciate some of the things in this episode. But all in all, I think it was a good episode. It advanced a little bit. I think we have more questions. We have a little bit more. We have more questions out of this episode than we have answers. I was actually editing our theories video today a bit late because this week was a bit busy, and it was just remarking on the fact that a lot of the things that we were predicting for the future weren't actually answered in this episode. So it was fine that we dropped it today. It's fine that we dropped it today. We just got more questions in this episode, which, you know, on one hand is frustrating. On the other hand, it's interesting as long as they're all answered at some point. So, all right, without any further ado, we're going to jump into our spoiler part of the conversation, just talking about the parts of the episode that we thought were interesting. Again, we're not going to go beat by beat, but again, spoilers. All right, guys, so what stuck out for you for this episode? You can start in any order, really. You can start at the end, and I'm sure you guys might want to start at the end.
I want to start at the end, so we got because it's going to be the most talked about part, honestly, especially for them young whippersnappers out there that was expecting one thing, and all of a sudden we see, holy crap, it's Pietro, right? It's Quicksilver.
Wanda, who is this?
Long lost bro, get to squeeze his stinking sister to death or what?
Pietro.
Right.
And oh my gosh, it is Quicksilver,
Yeah.
like Quicksilver from another world or another universe, and we'll get into that a little bit more into the theory section as well. But it was a surprise. We had heard some rumors that he would be in there,
Mm-hmm.
Evan Peters, that is,
Mm-hmm.
but everyone kind of guessed. I think it was a little bit of a mix of both. How they would introduce him? Would he be introduced as one of the kids, perhaps? He would be Billy or Tommy
Mm-hmm.
in that way, or was he actually going to be introduced as Quicksilver? Right, and sure enough, he's there. And that right there, I don't know if you guys saw it, but I detected a little bit of Uncle Jesse from Full House, the way he was dressed and the way he was talking as well. Hey, who's the popsicle?
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite an nice cliffhanger ending, and I think it did its job. I really think it's going to get people talking.
Yeah, I would agree, John. Is that it's an oldie but a goodie in terms of Evan Peters coming into the MCU. Just to recall, he was in the second X-Men. I think Days of Future Past was when he was introduced.
Peter, the cops are here.
You guys want? I didn't do anything.
Relax, Peter. We're not cops.
Of course you're not cops. If you were cops, you wouldn't be driving a rental car. Are you FBI? No, you're not cops. Hey, what's with this Give to Youngsters place?
And you can see that on Disney Plus as well, and then also in X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. I'm pretty sure he's on Dark Phoenix as well. So he's been in X-Men already a few times, and just having him back, because I think for the most part he really had the most iconic scene, in that kind of newer versions of the X-Men with the Pink Floyd shirt and then him like running around in the Pentagon there. So definitely very iconic character, bringing him into the MCU, and it was just, in some ways for me, it wasn't that much of a shock. I think that people tried to overthink things, and Marvel, doesn't want to overthink things a lot. So if it means that something's going to happen, then something's going to happen. And trying to stop overthinking all the time would be really appropriate for a lot of people, and probably would save people a lot of sleep time.
Yes. Hey, folks, I just wanted to pause to say, if you're enjoying the conversation, if you're finding it useful, engaging, entertaining, any of the above, please like the video below. It really helps the channel grow, and we would really appreciate it. All right, back to it. Similar to what you were saying, Colin, I wasn't that surprised that this was the twist. I mean, I heard the theories that it might have been Tommy. I think Tommy's the speedster of her kids.
Right.
But I mean, this makes the most logical sense based upon, like you said, Colin. They try to streamline the comic book stories. Comic book stories are convoluted because they've been running for 50 years, some of them. So they comic books are basically soap operas. So there's so many winding storylines that need to be streamlined if you're going to try to create a show, or you're going to try to create a movie. So it makes more sense for him to show up as Pietro. We'll see, and we can talk about this, like you said, John, in the theory section, what that means or why he showed up when we talk about theories. One thing I'm not going to get into in the Easter egg video, so I should probably talk about it now, because I'm not sure if you guys saw that meme a few years ago where the woman is on the internet, and she's talking about, she says, "America explain." So my wife at the end of the episode, she was like, "Explain," because she's like, "This why? Who is this? How he's an X-Men? Why is he here?" I remember the Pietro was a completely different person. So she forgot. She actually forgot, or it didn't occur to her that it was the same character. So this is way too wonky to get into in the Easter egg video, because I want to keep that like 10-15 minutes long. But for those who don't know, Marvel sold off their licensing to different places. Fox was one studio. Sony was another studio. For a while, Fox had the rights to produce X-Men properties, because mutants specifically, because Wanda and Pietro are both mutants on the Avengers. They shared those properties, so they had a deal where Pietro would show up in the Ultron movie for just that movie and die off. And since Fox wasn't using Wanda continued on within the Marvel franchise. But
Yep.
a few years ago, Fox was bought by Disney, so they own everything now. So they can do whatever they want to with their characters. The only thing outstanding is the Hulk movies, because the rights are still with Universal, so they can't. So Marvel can't make Hulk movies, and also Spider-Man. All the Spider-Man properties still belong to Sony distribution, so they make Spider-Man movies. Although the rights to make merchandise reverted back to Disney. So,
that's why you see a lot of those. That's why I see a lot of Spider-Man characters in the Disney store. When you go to go to the Disney store, you see a lot of that.
So that's the backroom wonky stuff. But now this is why we can have the different speedster Pietro show up from the X-Men universe in this show. And again, we can get into what that means for the future of the MCU and also the future of that show when we jump into theories. Anything else stand out to you guys for this episode?
I think that for me, just that the kids growing up really fast, and gee, wouldn't it be great if babies were crying 1 second and then they turn into 10-year-olds the next second?
They finally fell asleep.
They're empty.
Mommy? Daddy?
Don't think you're ready to properly care for an animal until you're at least 10 years old.
So it's kind of weird in that Agnes also again showed up in this episode, and all of a sudden the kids became older, grew up to be 5 and then 10 because they wanted a dog. So it was very interesting to kind of see the progression of the kids and where the kids will be in future episodes. That really stuck out for me.
Yeah, another thing, and we can talk a little bit more in depth about this too, is the fact that Monica, when she was getting, I guess, tested or her vitals or something, or x-rays and stuff like that, they were coming back very strange, right? One of the scans came back blank, and she also needed to get her blood drawn again, but they just kind of, she tried to brush it off and said, no, I'm not doing that, and just skip right over it.
We're going to need to take these again. There's something wrong with the machine.
Those are blank.
I need another blood draw.
No. We're done here.
I think it's pretty significant. I think they're planting some seeds there, and the geek in me is getting very excited about that part as well. So that was a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to point out was how Wanda broke into Shield headquarters. I mean, not Shield, Sword headquarters, and took parts of Vision.
Maximoff stormed our facility, stole the Vision's body, and resurrected him.
And just seeing that surveillance video really kind of opens up a little bit of things and theory crafting, but still it kind of like just opened it up a little bit, but not like the whole thing in many ways.
Yeah, there's a lot in this episode. Like you said, the kids growing quickly, Agnes's weirdness from the beginning of the episode. As soon as she showed up, she started being weird.
Do you want me to take that again?
I'm sorry?
You want me to hold the babies? Should we just take it from the top?
Which is why I mentioned that I don't know if our question about from our theory video from last week, whether or not everyone is being controlled is answered because of just how Agnes acted, and also how the mailman acted in this episode. It's what he said specifically about the dog. Your mom won't let it get too far. Makes it seem like he's aware of something. So there was speculation, and we can talk about this in the theory section a little bit more. But the witness in the witness protection that Jimmy was looking for, there was speculation that the mailman was the person in witness protection. But in this episode, we actually see his ID on the board, so they identified this guy, so I think he's just a regular person. Agnes is still not up there on that board. And as you said, John, the weirdness with the scans and the blood tests obviously point to something. We can get into whether or not this is a pre-existing something or something that happened over the last couple of days. We also got a more of a timeline in this episode. Apparently, so we got the unblipping, rather, at the beginning of last episode, and we know that that's 3 weeks on. 3 weeks on from that, and then we go back there's like 24 hours that Monica was inside the anomaly, and then 9 days before that, Wanda broke into the thing. So it was like 2 weeks after the blip, Wanda broke into SWORD and retrieved Vision. So she's been in this environment for over a week. Maybe she started with 20s sitcoms, and then people showed up a bit late, and when they call it the 50s sitcoms. So
yeah. I just want to mention one other thing was that the commercials seem as though there's almost like a progression of Wanda's life. It's almost like this is your life, Wanda.
Yeah.
And the commercial here is being presented from the events that happened in Civil War. So that was kind of interesting to me too.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention this in the Easter egg video too. But the thing that annoyed me with that commercial, and also with Hayward, and I'm gonna get to Hayward in a second, is them pronouncing Lagos weird. They said Lagos.
You need Lagos brand paper towels, the most absorbent paper towel available. Lagos, for when you make a mess you didn't mean to.
I didn't have no one on set that knows how to pronounce Lagos, Nigeria. I guess I don't know, but yes, it was obviously a tie-in to her experience in Lagos and her accidental murdering of the delegation from Wakanda. I'm not sure. Getting back to Hayward, I'm not sure how he's pinning Germany on her, because she was at the complex, the Avengers complex, when the Germany thing happened, when T'Challa's father died. That was the Winter that was the Winter Soldier that killed T'Challa's father. So I don't know why he's talking about Germany. She wasn't, unless he's talking about the fight that happened in Germany, like the airport.
Yeah. You locked me in my room.
Okay, first, that's an exaggeration. Second, I did it to protect you.
But again, pinning that just on her is also weird. I mean, Captain America was there. She was on the side of Captain America and a bunch of other people who I think he would regard as heroes. He's really leaning in. He's really trying to convince his team to think of her as a terrorist. Does she have a call sign? Does she have an alias? No, she doesn't have an alias. She's just a terrorist. So yeah, it's. I mean, we know from the comics that her call sign or her alias is Scarlet Witch, but yes, they never assigned her one inside the MCU. But he's trying to point to that to just delegitimize her. He's suspicious in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, he's definitely got some kind of ulterior motive. Trying to paint that narrative.
Yeah, and I think that when Wanda comes out and confronts them, she knows who he is, because she says, "Director." She says, "Director, you're the one with guns.
Stay out of my home. You don't bother me, I won't bother you."
You've taken an entire town hostage.
Well, I'm not the one with the guns, Director.
So she knows who he is. They have a pre-existing situation going on that he's not telling, and she has no interest in talking about, because she's got what she wants, and she just wants them to leave her alone. There's another shoe to drop with him in his sketchy behavior, and just like in the previous episode, like I said, we're supposed to like Darcy and Jimmy, and they don't like him, so we're not supposed to like him. We're gonna stop the video here and break this conversation into 2 parts before we get into theories. Otherwise, this video would be more than an hour long. But we're interested to hear what you think. Did you find any references or tropes that we missed? Comment down below and like this video if it was useful for you. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.